We've been having a heck of a winter. I'm standing on hard packed snow. We've got probably about 3 foot of standing hard packed snow out here. It's so hard that the elk are walking on top of it in a lot of spots. And so it's really hard for them to dig down to get to anything that's underneath. This morning in Maybell, it's about 0 degrees. That's about our average temperature here the last several days. Down to, you know, minus 15 or 20 at night and up to about 15 or 20 during the day. And just pretty tough conditions. Today we're conducting a baiting operation for about 200 to 250 head of elk in the Maybell corridor along the Yampa River drainage. We're influencing probably about 5 or 6 different landowners and trying to mostly prevent conflict with domestic livestock. So there's several different cattle operations in the valley here with several different feed lines of just domestic livestock, and so what we're trying to do is basically bait the elk away from those. So you can see here we just laid out a bait line this morning. You can still probably see some of the elk on the hill that we just pushed off of it, but basically we're trying to keep them baited away from those producers. With the baiting operation, our goal is to minimize conflict with domestic livestock. Our goal isn't to give the elk 100% as much nutrition as they need to get through the winter. Our goal is to minimize the conflict. What we've been doing today with the snow machines is taking out little bales of hay and kind of scattering a trail so that we can catch these elk as they kind of move back and forth along the river corridor. And then at one point or another, they'll run into that bait trail, and then that's just enough hay to kind of give them something to follow into the main area where we want to be baiting them. So if we were feeding elk, we'd be trying to get them as much as we could to help their body condition and that, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to minimize the conflict with livestock. Another thing to keep in mind is certainly CWD. This group here is about 200, 250 elk now, and it started as, you know, 3 or 4 different bunches of 40 to 70 elk, and now they're all in one spot. And you know, we're solving a lot of landowner conflict issues here by this operation, but on a larger scale we need to be thinking about that down the line as far as transmission of CWD when we congregate animals like that. Every landowner is different, and it's not a one-size-fits-all approach for solving their problems. So a lot of times we actually need to go out to their ranch and sit down and have a cup of coffee and visit with them and see what's going on, and then we can figure out the best approach from there.
We can't, as ranchers, can't afford to have the elk on our feed grounds, not only for the hay they eat, but for safety of our cattle. The division has really stepped up, and really our cooperation with them this year is exceptional. We really appreciate them. We appreciate these guys, and they're baiting these elk off and trying to help us.
Like I said, game damage is pretty much a full-time job right now. So we're baiting on several different locations that actually CPW is doing in-house, and then also keeping our landowners supplied with hay to bait away from their livestock conflicts, or just going out and looking at whatever new issues they might have, like if they had a new haystack get busted into and they need panels to fix it.
We've distributed about 750 tons of hay so far in the Yampa Valley and along the White River there too, out towards Rangeley. We're working with about 100 different landowners at this point, probably affecting around 5,000 elk when you kind of put everything together.
Something that we need to keep in mind moving forward this winter is just what we can handle and what's realistic. We've got thousands and thousands of animals on the landscape, so unfortunately, you know, we can't impact all of them. We're targeting high conflict areas and just baiting those critters away from domestic conflict at this point. HPP's been pretty essential to funding the operations that we're doing out here. They're paying for a lot of this hay. We've exhausted all of our state wildlife area hay in the region, and so at this point we're buying a lot of hay from different producers to keep these different baiting operations going, and to keep giving hay to landowners that are dealing with conflict as we can. So all that funding's come through HPP.
A huge thanks to all landowners that we are working with and that we haven't even heard from, because some of them are just dealing with it on their own. So we really appreciate the help and the patience with elk. It's a community effort, not only Parks and Wildlife, but all of our local ranchers and landowners and even citizens of Craig and Rangeley and Meeker. Everybody stepped up to help out in some form or capacity. So it's kind of been all the way across the board.